Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. Got the Unfiltered gang, the Unfiltered Longhorn gang in here. Chris and Vashon. Y'all, football season is upon us. I just watched the Hall of Fame game last night in Canton, Ohio. Football is back, fellas. The Longhorns are practicing. We're as we're recording this, we haven't had our official first padded practice yet, but football is back. A lot to discuss, a lot of excitement. I made a somewhat controversial video, fellas, earlier this week where I said the Texas needs to win the Big 12 this year. Obviously, our last season in the Big 12. Shout out to everybody that watched that video, liked and shared it. I appreciate you guys. Some great comments on that video. Some of you guys said, Steve, you're preaching. Well, I'm with you, brother. And some of you guys vehemently disagree with me. So and said, typical Texas. So we're going to talk about everything. I'm actually going to pass it to Vashon real quick. And guys, make sure you hit that like button and sub up here. Vashon, as we're recording, we're 2 practices in. And, with everything that you've seen, read, heard, what you look at, what does your football eye, your football gut tell you about this football team as we stand here today?
Man, everything that I've read, because it's you really can't. You're going off the eyes of other guys. You're not putting your eyes on yourself, so you're relying on the writers. You got so many pay sites out there. Some report the same thing, some report different things, and then they're
And they
relying
only
on
get
their
20
sources.
minutes.
They only get 20 minutes, and then the rest they're relying on sources for them to get their team. But from everything I've heard, it sounds promising. And Steve, I'm here to tell you, brother, your expectations. That's the expectations I have. Now, I'm gonna take it down one notch. I believe we should be 10-2, and I believe we should at least make the Big 12 championship. You lose, I can kind of be a little lean on that. But man, it's too much talent team. And from all the reports that we've been hearing, they're talking about how deep we are, how everybody's in shape. I mean, they've been talking about the strength and conditioning, how everybody looks good. They was mentioning, look at your boy, Barron Sorrell. Barron Sorrell is up to 261 pounds, and they claiming he can get even bigger. See, that's the stuff. And since we've been talking, Steve, me, you, and Simp, I've been saying it from the beginning. Championships are won by strength and conditioning programs. That is, fellas, that should be the base of your team. And from what we've been hearing, man, just going by what we're hearing, we don't know, man, things are looking good. And like I say, everybody coming off the bus looking like some real football players, but we do know it's Texas. It is Texas. Step on the field and they got to handle their business. It's our last year in the Big 12. We're going to be fighting the refs. We know that. Hey, but you should know that going into the game. And I've been saying this, and I'm going to continue to say this, guys. The talent is at Texas to win. To me, it's all on Sark this year. What is Sark going to do? And I think he did some things that one thing about being a good coach is recognizing your weaknesses and utilizing your strengths. And I think Sark saw some weaknesses, just my opinion on the matter. That's why he went out and hired Paul. Is Chris? I always say it backwards.
Paul Chris.
Chris, yeah. He went out and hired a Paul Chris to help him in his running game because we got shut down. I don't care what you guys said. We got shut down against Washington. And that was a preview of the team without B. John and Rojo. So and we averaged only 2.9 yards a carry. We can't do that this year. And teams are going to load the box, man. They're going to load the box and Derek Quinn to throw the ball. So with all those wide receivers we got, Quinn don't have to lock on to one wide receiver. He got multiple options. I mean, you team nobody anywhere, or you're going to leave somebody else open I agree. The 10-2 and a Big 12 championship appearance at least for me. That's what I'm saying. So what you got, Sam?
Man, in my opinion, honestly, I mean, I have the same expectations you have. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think we're super talented. I think we have a lot of depth, more depth than we've had in years, especially like across the lines, offensive line big time. But I mean, and here's my thing. I think one game doesn't make your season. You know, if you win the Big 12 regular season and lose in the championship game, I mean, these guys are going to be amped up. They're going to be ready. But that's not going to be bad, in my opinion. I'm like, okay, cool. Hopefully you're undefeated like TCU, and then that's your one loss, and you still have a chance to get in the playoff. All right. Now, if you go 9-3, lose to Alabama, lose 2 conference games, and still get into the Big 12 championship, you need to win that bad boy.
Yeah,
You need, because
good
what
point.
you have, I want to get out of the 4-loss thing. I mean, the year in 2018, whenever we won 10 games, we still had 4 losses. And those were the most 4 painful losses. That Maryland game to this day still gets me. That Oklahoma State game, man. I've never really been a big Tom Herman fan. Anybody knows that, but man, I wanted him to go after Gundy's behind that day. Like whenever at the end of the game, whenever they were having that little argument in the front, you know.
Also,
Um,
Chris, quick sidebar on the Oklahoma State game. That is the game I point to all the time when I ask about how is Texas going to handle success when they are doing well. They got on a streak. They had beaten OU, they had beaten USC. They had really earned everybody's respect at that point. I mean, those of us watching college football that year knew how good Kyler Murray was, right? And how good that OU offense looked. And overall, some of the wins we had stacked up. If you remember, that Oklahoma State game was extremely frustrating because guys came out and got suspended.
mhm.
Multiple players were suspended either the first half or the first quarter, and that was the night Tyler Wallace went off, right? And
Yep.
and and
Yeah.
Oklahoma State got up unnecessarily. That was a team where it's like if we were locked in and focus and we don't have all this chaos going on out the field because y'all are feeling yourselves,
Mhm.
we win that game and you don't
Mhm.
have the 4-loss issue. So that's the game I always point to where I'm like, if Texas is back to being consistently good, you don't get in your way in those situations like they did in that Oklahoma State game. I'm glad you brought that up. Go continue, Chris.
Yeah. One thing, and along with what Vajon said, to me, it's on Sark. I think I'm glad we have a guy like Chris Delaconte, CDC, as our athletic director. Because, like I've said before in previous videos, an athletic director is like your NFL or NBA or Major League Baseball GM. Basically, he's not just a guy that's going to be trying to raise money for the university. When you need an offensive coach to help you out in that second half, he's the kind of guy that's like, okay, let's see where Paul Christ is. Who are you cool with? He did the same thing with GP last year. Even though it is on Sark, one position coach that I'm really intrigued with on this is our offensive line coach. I mean, our offensive line in general. We just got 2 guys drafted in the NFL. All right, one in the first round, one in the 4th round. Our offensive line is young. This is year 3. Kyle Flood, what you gonna do for me? I mean, literally 68% of Bijan's runs came after, or yards came after contact. 74% of Rojo's yards came after contact. Texas was 90th in power success rate trying to run the ball. That's when everybody knows what you're trying to do. We're 90th with those running backs. And I'm not trying to I think he's done a great job with what we've seen under Christian Jones. Kelvin Banks came in, was the truth immediately. And we've talked about how hard it is for a young man going up against grown men, playing the offensive line. The closer you are to the line of scrimmage, the harder it is to play immediately. But man, we have that are doing great, but we're struggling up the middle. That's supposed to be kind of one of the easier positions on the offensive line to play. Even though the closer you are, the more man you are. But I mean, in my opinion, everybody talks about Quinn. Everybody's talking about, being the Texas quarterback, this, that, the other. Everybody's like the running backs. We lost Bijan and Rojo. None of those guys have success if we're not powerful, if we don't take care of business up front, and especially with those three, that guard position.
So, Chris, a couple quick thoughts to the interior offensive line thing. That has been a place of focus on this channel in general throughout the last few weeks. And I want to emphasize something you brought up that's interesting with this group, is specifically with Kyle Flood. I'm glad you brought up the data points of where they struggled. And it's not just the data points. You see it on tape. It did eye test, okay? There's a reason why we had to go to the jumbo package, and we got, it was the fake 12 personnel because it was really Andre Carrick out there. And, we're going to row cat trying to figure out how to run the ball in short yardage, especially the struggles you point out with Bijan and Roshan kind of breaking through those things and overcoming those things. It's hard to run the ball on short yardage. I don't care who your running back is when everybody knows you have to run the football. And Steve Sarkisian wants to run it. His run pass ratio is normally pretty even, right? It's normally a 50-50 split. And we know he wants to run the football because that sets up all the stuff he wants to do on his play action and taking his shots down the field. It's interesting with Kyle Flood because this group was in the top 25 from a pass blocking perspective.
That's
they
right.
were actually really good from a pass pro perspective as a younger group, but struggled against the run, which is typically kind of the other way around with young players.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Here's the one thing, Chris, though, I will throw this out. At this point, folks watching this video, we are not in padded practices yet. So it's really hard to gauge interior offensive line and defense. And actually, it's really hard to gauge trench guys in general when they're in shorts, right?
Yep.
We won't really know until we see the one-on-ones and all the inside drills and all those things when they have their pads on. All we can really pay attention to is who's in the first group, second group, blah, blah, blah. What I do think is interesting, though, is Kyle Flood saying I have 8 starters on the offensive line, right? So the first group they rolled out there was the same group we had played with the whole season. So they have experience and continuity on their side, right? From left to right, Kelvin Banks, Hayden Connor, Jake Majors, Cole Hudson, Christian Jones, right? That's the group that they rolled out there on the first practice on August 1st. The other 3 people, right? We're talking about DJ Campbell, Neto, and who's the third? I'm blanking on the third. Cam Williams is the third person, right? So Big Cam. So he's saying out of those 8 guys, and this is where Chris has a great point. Out of those 8 guys, there's no excuse why my interior should be weak. We should be able to find a combination. And that combination doesn't necessarily mean that it's the original OGs from last season. God bless them. I'm glad they're back. I'm glad we have that experience. But if DJ Campbell's ready to go and he's made those strides and he can give us what we need, then let's rock with DJ Campbell and so forth. Now, I have not heard of Cole Hudson taking snaps at center yet. It sounded like they were straight up and down with Connor Robertson and Sawyer Gordon Welsh behind Jake Majors. It did sound like, though, Chris, Hayden Connor would be the one that they would try to get some snaps in at center, at least right now, but TBD.
Yeah.
So, Chris, I think you wanted to follow up on that point.
Oh, no. I mean, no, you're 100% right. But with that, it's just like, I like Connor at center. I like anybody at center that's going to challenge Jake. Like we said, we're not attacking Jake. We want the iron to sharpen the iron. My thing though is, I want to hear more. If Connor's playing center, I want to hear more. I mean, is that putting Campbell in? Who's playing left guard? Who's playing right guard? I mean, what are we doing? I feel like when you put Connor at center, I don't know if that's legitimate competition for Jake. Not that he's not the bit that is, but that's just like it. Like I want to see Hayden Connor at guard. I want to see Campbell, Connor, and Cole Hudson together. I almost feel like it's kind of like a contingency plan. It's early, like it says. This is a couple practices in with no pads on, so we don't know what they're doing.
Too, by
But
the
I mean,
way.
same time though, I feel like with Hayden Connor in there, I feel like that's not the competition for Jake realistically, because I think they want Connor to continue to develop at guard because he's entering his third year. I think I really pray that they really consider if you since Hudson started all those games for you last year, I really hope they're considering putting him in at center. I think one of these days, DJ Campbell, the light's coming on the way it's sounding right now. The man up to 340.
Yeah,
You
340.
can't. He's gonna be on your field pretty soon. He's got to. So whoever that moves, whatever happens, like we said, we want that iron to sharpen iron. Yeah, we're not picking on Jake, man. I just like that's where we're getting blown up. I was watching the tapes of that Baylor game probably for the 15th time, that last regular season game of the year, and just watching those running backs having like we really had it good, man. Like we really people don't really realize how good these guys are. Like I look at our running back position now, like this could be like I'm not trying to like throw shade on us or be pessimistic, but like the Savion Red talk about him being out of shape, that's scary. Like I'd go back to 2016 and you look at the number of running backs on the roster, that's something me and Vashon's had conversation a bunch over the years. You look at 2016, you got Deontay Foreman, you got Chris Warren, you got Rocky Bernard, you got Kyle, or was it whatever Bernard was, and you got Kyle Porter as a freshman. That's it. Chris Warren get hurt, like you're down literally. You don't trust. Bernard was already hurt. You down to Porter and Foreman. Like I just like that's a position we talked about it a couple of videos about, but that's really a position that, like, man, I think Savion Red, he needs to, he needs to grow up and like I'm not trying to knock the kid, but man, come on, man, like you have a chance, bro. Like, it's like they're not trying to run you off. They didn't do the position switch like that. Like you need to step it up, man. Like, you could be playing. Like literally, if Kyle Porter, like watching Deontay Foreman carry the ball 50 times against Kansas, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, because you just said a lot there, so I gotta.
I'm sorry. I've got a lot of. Yeah.
So the Savion Red piece. So Chris moved us to running backs, which is cool. My thing is, to your point, Chris, it's more really on the plate of the player. For in terms of getting those reps, because if Jonathan Brooks is fully healthy, and I think what was Brooks's weight, 220? If he's up to what I think his weight is, and Cedric Baxter, I think they said is almost 220. And with Cedric Baxter, it's just really understanding speed of the game and pass pro. If he's good on those two, then bro, we're not waiting for you guys. Like, we don't have to wait for you guys. Let's just be honest. Like, I haven't even mentioned Jaden Blue or Keelan Robinson yet. So now where Savion Red, to me, one thing you saw in the spring and what he was highly praised for was his attitude, and from a sense of that dog mentality and somebody that's just going to fight for their right to party every single time he runs the football. He's going to play football with violence, and he plays football in a violent manner. You need edgy guys. You do. Let's just be honest, y'all. Not everybody on your team can be a choir boy. You need some edgy people.
That's right.
And Savion gives you that when he is focused, and he can play multiple positions. The fact that I actually thought he was underutilized last season in areas where he could have helped us. But there's those lapses and those things you hear about that get reported. Again, not trying to bag the kid like Chris said, but if it's true that he's not in the type of physical shape he needs to be, this team is moving on with or without you. Christian Jones said it in his media availability. By the way, the fact that Christian Jones is here doing media availability speaks to the growth of the culture in the program where he was a couple years ago. And now you watch him speak confidently in front of the media talking about, these are my brothers. This is how we work. Talking about how many guys are in there every day getting extra work. He was like, the amount of people that stay after, where it's not mandatory, the coaches aren't around, people are chilling, what have you, the amount of guys that are around, Chris, that speaks volumes to me, man, when you have guys talking like that, right? And so you hear the growth of Quinn Ewers and his leadership in the locker room. You hear the growth of Jalen Ford holding people accountable on the defensive side. If you're hearing all those things and there's a couple people not on board, either they're going to get on the train and be on board, or you lose your opportunity. Even when we were great, you're always going to have people that are. We had problems with Ramonts in 04 and 05, but
Yeah, that's right.
he did get on board long enough for us to win. But we're not waiting for you either. In 05, they weren't waiting for Ramonts either. I still got Selvin Young, I got Jamal Charles, but if you want to be on board, we got a place for you, right?
Yep.
So I think that's where this team is in a healthier space to handle those type of things. Whereas in the past, I feel like we've fallen apart. Maybe that's me drinking Kool-Aid, but I was really impressed with what I saw Christian Jones say those things about the amount of people that are just hanging around getting extra work. So, I think it's impactful for this team. What are some names of guys who you've been kind of looking out for, and their names have already popped up in the first couple practices where you guys smile a little bit? Are there any young guys or guys in general out there for y'all whose names have popped up in the first few practices?
Well, one of them I keep seeing and reading reports is Mr. Terrence Brooks. Man, I like what Worthy said about him too when they asked Worthy who gives him the toughest, the toughest competition. And he brought up Terrence Brooks by name. And Worthy's going to be an NFL wide receiver. One thing about Brooks, from what they're saying, is he's looking good. He got a great attitude. He's got the long arms, and I noticed last year when they inserted Brooks in the TCU game, man, that's when the defense really took up. I mean, it just it hit another stride, and that's nothing against Mr. Jameson. I'm just saying, man, Brooks. It looked a little different with Brooks up in there. So I was happy to hear something about him, and then Mr. Catalan, man, they say he look like a little stocky, little stocky football player out there. Like say he got some tree trunks for legs. But hey, bro, I'm gonna say this too, Steve and Simp. If Catalan can get back to that form he was at Arkansas when he had that freshman All-American year.
Yeah, and even the next year he was
even the next year. That's right. That defense this defense will be nasty. I'm telling you, and I've been telling you guys this, man. If we can get that boy back to that, and look, I know we haven't heard nothing about Gary Patterson, but if Gary Patterson decides to come aboard, I think Gary Patterson accounts for more wins than any player we got on the roster, any freshman. He impacts more wins with his game planning ability, and him and PK putting their heads together, coming up with game plans, shutting down teams. And I might even move my record then, Steve. But that's in the future, guys. We don't know if Gary's coming. So, but I'm just saying, man. Yeah.
I don't know if I like being this hopeful, but that's because of the previous torture. I feel like with Gary, it's a question of when, not if. That's just me. I just feel like it's a question of when. But to your point about Catalan, real quick, if I just get the Catalan that we had to play against in Vietnam, that had our whole team shook. I'm cool. That's all I need.
That's it.
If that
That's
brother
it.
shows up that shook our whole squad, I'm good.
Yeah.
We rocking and rolling then. So, Chris, who are some guys that have who stood out so far that you've been looking out for?
Man, my man Jade Barron. Like we talked about him last video and just what a impactful player he is as a nickel player. But man, like they said his legs look like running like he's a running back too. And that means basically for me and for Longhorn Nation, this is a contract year for him, along with Baron Sorrells, I mean, big time. When you get that done in this weight room, like Vashawn was saying, that's the most important time of the year is the off season, that weight room. You get that done, then man, when you come back with that kind of size, especially in your legs, that lets me know that you really like you ready for this year. He's not one of them guys, hanging out Austin, running around with them gals, not in the weight room. You come in Austin, you a linebacker, you 195, and a year later you weigh 202. What in the world? I mean, man, this man's actually getting it done, bro. And I just like you guys were saying earlier on, man, it's the culture. It's the culture in the locker room, man. Like these guys are staying afterwards, Everyone made a big deal about some guys are making fun of the quarterbacks, sticking around and, working on their abs and their core and stuff. But I mean, man, look what them guys look like now. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's guys working together, being together, position groups being together. There's not this, oh, I'm not gonna help make that guy get better or whatever. The other day, I think they were saying that I heard that there was a what's his name? BJ Allen was helping his fellow redshirt freshman Larry Turner Gooden. There's no, hey, I don't want this guy to get better. Man, iron sharpens iron, yeah, but I mean, it's like I can't win if my brother don't know what the assignment is. You know what I'm saying? That's just you don't see that on football teams.
Great point. You know who I was also in the same kind of vein or area. I'm gonna go with a young guy, Derek Williams. Derek
Mm.
Williams just looking the part, number one. And number two, the fact that his name has been brought up so much, and it's interesting, he wears number two and on defense, and Jonte Cook wears number two on offense. And I'm big on looks. Like, how does the guy look, when they work out, when I see him going, you just can tell sometimes they have what do they say that in music business? He got the it factor. I
Yeah.
feel like with those two guys, you just look at them both, and it's like it factor. And again, a question of when, not if. I think with both of them, because of the depth right now in front of them, especially with Jonte Cook, it may not be the first month of the season or whatever where they do all these things. These are guys that are going to help us at some point, whether it's injuries, because people are going to go down. That's college football. Every team's going to lose guys. So people are going to go down. We're going to need people to step up. We're going to need to rely on somebody who we weren't expecting to rely on here in August. When I got people like that, from a depth standpoint, guys that are looking like future NFL prospects, guys that look like they're going to be on a mock draft when we do mock 2025 or 2026 and their names are up there. That's how they look right now. And that's just a testament to the growth of the program, but also why we are placing the level of expectations we're putting on here. Because we're
That's
even
right.
accounting for, when you sit up here and tell me you have 8 people that can start on the offensive line, and you bring in a Paul Christ on top of that, and you have an older quarterback who should be able to help you with the run game too, at problem solving at the line of scrimmage and checking in and out of plays. And maybe, hey, the box is loaded. Let me check out of this. And we maybe don't run the ball that play, or we check to something else. We got all those things going on. Why the hell shouldn't we be excited about what the possibilities? What else are we waiting for? We know what the ingredients are for successful football teams. We watch everybody in college. The three of us, we watch everybody. We know what it takes. I know what I saw from TCU last year, and the recipe there. So I'm just, that's where the giddiness comes in. Speaking of the quarterback, that's the other person I need to bring up. It could be a big deal, could not be. I think it's cool that arguably the best person that had the best practice, the first practice, was Quinn Ewers. I think that matters in terms of if you're going to come out there and you're the quarterback and you're QB1, he's starting off comfortable. And I said this on our SEC Connect show and podcast. Quinn said it in the offseason of, hey, when you're in a quarterback competition and you're trading reps with another guy, it's hard to be locked in on the team because you're so focused on trying to win your own individual battle versus when you know you're coming in as QB1. This is my football team. This is my offense. And you can see it permeate in how he practices. And so being encouraged with both days of practice so far of how sharp he's been and how vocal he's been, how much he's trying to guide. And honestly, from what I've heard, all three quarterbacks look really sharp. At least, now no disrespect to Chuck Wright and the others, but we're talking about, the big dogs here. All three look sharp. That right there makes your football team better. Well, how many practice reports did we read the last few years where it's like, oh, both quarterbacks were bad today, or they, blah, blah, blah. You don't think that impacted the consistency of being able to practice for the rest of the team versus when you're getting good quarterback play at all levels? So that means my scout team quarterback's on point, my backup's coming in running the second unit on point. That automatically means my other guys are getting better reps. I just wanted to emphasize that, man. What else we got going on? Let's just have a little roundtable conjecture here.
Well, just to piggyback off of you with Quinn, man, I love that he and Jalen Ford are leading the charge out, with Jalen Ford going out front, leading the defense, and Quinn out there leading the offense. That's what you want, man. You want your best players to lead the team. You want your best players to be out front. And that's what leaders do. They go out front and they lead. And from all the reports we've been hearing, and I know that, guys, we know they're not in pass, but one thing I always say that translates, and I even made my case when Malik did his thing in the spring game. If you can throw and hit receivers in stride, timing, all of that type of stuff, the ball snapping out, making the right read, that'll translate to games. So that, from all the practice reports, sounds like Quinn's he's doing those things. And even like Steve said, all the quarterbacks. Like I said, and one more thing I would like to add though is also Will Stone. They said in special teams, because special teams is gonna win some games. They said he's I think Jeff Banks even mentioned him in his press conference. He's doing great on kickoffs. Because field position is very important in football, and that can change some games for us. When we had Micah Dicker that year, shoot, that dude, that league won some games just by his kicking alone. So, man, it's big, and the real common denominator, what we all talking about, is how good everybody look. And like I say, the strength and conditioning is the culture of the team. And one last point, we're not picking on Jake Majors. We just want Jake Majors. We just want the interior of that offensive line, guys, to open up those holes. And that doesn't mean get bigger. A lot of people, I see people say, we need to be 330, we need to be 340. You need to be stronger. You can be big and not strong. So what we need is a guy that's strong. So, man, whoever, but like you said, Steve, earlier, we got options. We're deep now. You can throw numbers at the problems. That's awesome. That's what Texas has been missing for a while. We might get it every now and then, every other year, and in the year when we have depth, we have a good season. But now, man, it's no excuses at all. Hey, 10 or bust. I hate saying that, but hey, it is what it is.
They can't be scared of playing under pressure and under expectations. Every other program at this university operates under that umbrella. Let's just be frank. The men's basketball team had to operate under that umbrella. From the beginning of the season, we expected them to be great, and they were. So I don't want to hear, they went out and won the Big 12, and we said they needed to be what, first, second, or third in terms of the men's, and they had a whole fiasco with Chris Beard and everything, and they still won the Big 12. They still made it to the Elite Eight. They played under pressure and expectations, and they did not wilt to it. They rose to that standard. So I know it's different with the psyche of Texas fans and how long we've been down in this conference. But I want to go back to a couple football. I want to talk some real ball here real quick because you brought up Jake Majors again. Folks, it's one part of his game that we're really talking about is run blocking, because in pass pro, if you look at his PFF grades or Alex Dunlap's grades or whoever, he's fine against the pass. And we know he's smart. We know how smart he is. He's one of the best guys from a leadership standpoint. That's why it's hard to have this conversation. But we also understand with the run element, if we get that right, that opens up so much more, makes things a lot easier of alleviating pressure. I have a question, Chris or Rashawn, if you want to take this. How does the run scheme look with Jonathan Brooks back there? Because to me, and I know a lot of other people feel this way, Jonathan Brooks naturally looks like those classic zone cutback runners, those stretch guys, right? Like in a Shanahan, McVay type offense. Shout out to the folks on Twitter Spaces. We were rapping last night, and it actually brought up the time that Sark has gone and spent with Sean McVay, and especially learning how Sean McVay was able to utilize his backs, especially in 11 personnel running the football. Can we do some of those same things and be effective with Jonathan Brooks? Sark has always had 1,000-yard back. And but Jonathan Brooks is a different runner from Bijan and Roshan. Did anybody want to talk scheme there in terms of what our run scheme could look like?
Simp, you got it? Or you want me to get it?
You can get it first.
All right. Well, man, all Jonathan Brooks, all they do is just score a touchdown. And I mean that in a good way. You know what I'm saying? The old famous Chris Carter, huh? Chris Carter got cut. All they do is score a touchdown. Like, that's a bad thing. But no, man, real talk, though. I think Steve, he's an outside zone runner. I'm like you, he's a zone, because let him pick the hole. He got great vision. He has great balance. And from what the report's been saying, he's put on good weight, and he looks like a Hercules out there. I mean, I think we're gonna see a pretty big year from him. And so he's put on I hate to say this, guys, he's put the armor on Tom Herman. So, you know what I'm saying? Boy, I hate saying that. But anyway, he's put on the armor, so he might be ready to tote the ball, 15, 20 times. And let's not forget, though, Sim, let's not forget the kid. And I know it's high school, but man, he had some carries in high school. He's carried 30, 40 times in high school. So, I know people was kind of nervous about him taking on a full load, but I'm like, shoot, man, when you're a running back, and I played running back, you used to carrying the ball a lot, and you get hotter. But it also is a blessing to have multiple running backs to spell you. That way, Brooks can be fresh in the fourth quarter and finish the game. And you still got and I don't know why I don't know why y'all, a lot of people overlooking Jaden Blue. Didn't somebody just say he's the fastest on the team? I think I read that or heard that in a podcast or something.
He's either the fastest or he's only behind Xavier Worthy, potentially.
That's right.
Or something like that.
Yeah, because what was he?
Like
Steve,
a 10-5.
10-6,
10-6,
and he didn't even run his senior year.
Yeah.
So we know Jaden Blue can run. So my point is, I hear everybody talk about Cedric Bassing and man, he's a beast, he's a dog. But don't forget, Jaden Blue was almost a 5-star. Well, was he a 5-star? And then he didn't play his senior year and he got dropped. So it's potentially he was going to be a 5-star. So let's not overlook him. But man, Brooks, hey, let him, I say outside zone, inside zone. Let him pick the hole and let him just do his thing, man. I'm hoping we don't miss a beat. But we had 2 NFL running backs that is going to be hard to replace them. But that's why we got Coach Choice. Coach Choice come in here, and you already see he's recruiting at a high level. So hey, man, keep the cupboard full, and we'll keep on trucking.
And I think it's going to be married to whatever group they ultimately get to with the offensive line. And it may
That's right.
take them through Alabama to figure this out. Let's just be real.
True.
They could rotate. All of the combination of this. I do think it's interesting with the carries that Jonathan Brooks took on. It's very similar to Jordan Whittington, the amount of touches he had. The difference is
Yeah.
the Jordan Whittington guy here, we immediately made him gain weight to try to play him at running back and then played him more. And whereas Jonathan Brooks is even though he's played in spurts, he's kind of gotten to rest a little bit at Texas behind Bijan and Roshan. Chris, jump in here.
Very true.
Man, the thing about Brooks, and this is what where I don't want to get to where I think he looks great, like Rashawn's saying, in outside zone and inside zone, but I don't want it predictable where, Brooks is in, they're going to do this. Baxter's in, they're going to do this. We've only seen Brooks, besides the Kansas game, his freshman year, we've only seen Brooks in blowouts. So I'm interested to see how he is as a full-time running back. It's so weird whenever seeing a guy as a starter compared to him coming in blowouts, like in any sport. If you're, it's just seeing you when you're that guy and that you're going to get those carries. See how you last. See how you do it.
To protect the football.
Yeah, protect the football. 100. If you can't protect the football, you can't get on the field. If you can't protect the football or pick up
pass block,
pass block, you can't get on the field. I think one thing I'm seeing with Texas fans at times, I'm seeing them kind of like, well, man, Baxter's like a 5-star, and then Brooks is this guy. Like it's, surely by the end of the year, Baxter's going to be the guy. It's like, it's. I don't. Maybe I'm biased. I'm a Texan. I've seen Brooks play. Man, that guy is going to be RB1 in my opinion. And what's people don't realize, this isn't football 25, 30 years ago where Ricky was getting 20-something carries, 25, 30, 30-something carries. You had, Hodges Mitchell getting 4 or 5 carries, and that's it. No, man, we're going to try to run the ball probably about 40 times a game. That's 3, 4 running backs, 40, 45 times a game at times, depending on the game, the pace of the game. It's going to take more than one guy. Like everybody needs to just get out of that. Oh, this is my player. That's my player. Or no, man. I am, like I said, I am a fan of whoever's playing quarterback, whoever's playing running back, man. It's going to take a group. I'm worried about this running back. I'm worried about this running back group as a whole more than just one guy, I don't know. I'm really worried about the running back.
You have to be worried about it. You have to be worried about it though, because, and I said this I think I said this in a space or something, but I don't know. This is the only room that is not a returning starter.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere else, we've seen them play a lot against other competition. This is the only room that's a question mark. So Jonathan Brooks, by default, is coming in with that question mark. Just because he has not performed, to Chris's point, as a starter with those expectations under those lights. Yeah, you came in and gashed Kansas, which I'm with it. You came in and gashed OU, but they were already cooked. You know what I mean? Like, we need to see it. And just because we haven't seen it before doesn't mean the player or room is not capable. I remember Keelan went off a few years ago against West Virginia when he got to get in there and roll a little bit. So we've seen our guys step up and be asked. Jaden Blue is just, that's why it is difficult going back to the Savion Red conversation of, hey, getting him out there. There's 2 other groups I want to talk about before we sign off. One is the receiver rotation, and the other is edge. I'm going to start with the receivers, and we're going to be brief on both of these. These are going to be quick hitters. I am encouraged when I hear that Nair is practicing full go. Yes, he's wearing the brace. but he's practicing. He's doing everything that everybody else is doing, no green jersey. And he's backing up Worthy to the field. That means AD's on the boundary, Whittington's in the slot. That's our starting group, right? So if Worthy's out there. If Nair is able to play to that field side, what's stopping me from having some lineups where I have Nair, AD on the field at the same time, and then I have Worthy in the slot? And going with an NFL type 11 person, because that's an NFL 11 personnel, right?
Yeah, it is.
That's a whole different ball game right there. And so I'm encouraged if he can come along and be that way. Even you guys don't mute me, but even if I continue to see Casey Kane perform the way he's performing, and I have packages out there where I just want to be able to give people different looks, and I have the people to do it now. The only thing that's held Xavier Worthy back from playing more positions is that he's been the only guy sometimes that is a consistent threat. Now you got all these people, because in the NFL, when Xavier Worthy goes to the NFL, he's going to play all the receiver positions. Now we got other personnel where we can do that and mix and match. When I heard about Nair practicing there, that really, really got me excited and caught my attention with these receivers. Any thoughts there before we move to the edge?
Yeah, if you don't mind me going, I'll take this one. Man, I like the fact that, Nair is back and what he can give you. But also I like the fact that in past Texas, in past years, we were depending on a guy like that. How many times did we hear guys talk about Troy O'Meara? I mean, I just like,
because we needed him.
Yeah, we needed him. Like, we needed all these guys. We needed Jonte to come in to be the man. We needed DeAndre Moore to come in. Man, if they play, that's a luxury. I mean, right now it's a luxury. It's not a need. I'm so excited about that.
We made those guys rush back, dude, or at least feel like they had to get back so quick, and it screwed them up. Yeah.
Watching Troy in that spring game, not even 8 months after his surgery, like drag his leg, that was heartbreaking for me. I'm like, why did y'all not wait? He had no business being out there. I wish that young man well at Arizona State. I hope he kills it, but like I said, man,
Jake Smith over there too.
Is Jake still playing ball now?
He came back. Brian Carrington got him back.
Good. I pray for him, man. Good. What you got, Vashawn, on the receivers?
Oh, well, I think we're so deep now. It allows, like you said, Worthy to me, just my opinion. After watching Worthy last year, regardless of the broke hand or not, Worthy to me couldn't track the ball well. And that's fine. Not everybody's that type of receiver. Just because you fast doesn't mean you can go get the ball and track the ball 40 yards down the field. He just doesn't have that type of feel for it. Maybe he will get it. I don't know. But it allows him now to work more underneath and utilize his speed. Worthy, man, you throw him a slant and let him catch it and run, or a hitch or something like that. Shoot, that's to me where he's more better suited, because the DBs are going to have to play off of Worthy because they know he can run past him. So he's going to always be underneath. Now you got AD Mitchell can go deep and get it. You got other guys. You got a Nair. You got Nair coming in there. So, man, it allows Worthy just to work underneath. And then with all these bad receivers we got, I mean, these nice, bad receivers we got, man, it's going to allow JT Sanders to work. I mean, middle of the field, man. Bro, I don't know if y'all realize, if Quinn is pulling the trigger right, boy, it's going to be some mismatches everywhere. To the point, I go to the short passing game, man, just boom, boom, hitting them guys. And I'm talking about high percentage throws. You don't have to throw it deep like we was last year, every 3-4 times of the game. Just taking high percentage throws, because you're going to have one-on-one mismatches every time we snap the ball. And man, it should be a beautiful thing. This offense should be clicking. And what gives me hope, and we see the evidence, is Hudson Card looked better in year 2 in Sark's system. This is Quinn Ewers' second year in Sark's system. So we're hoping, now we don't know, but we're hoping year 2 in a pro-style offense that Sark runs, Quinn Ewers will be the man. And one more thing, offensive line, the exact same thing. Did Christian Jones look better his year up under Flood than he did the previous coaches? I would say yes. So that also gives me hope with some of these freshmen coming in offensive line year 2 with Coach Flood. This offensive line, that's just going by what previous we saw. But who knows? But man, I'm telling you, guys, I'm gonna sip a little bit. The Kool-Aid is there.
I think the biggest question maybe on the team, we talked about running back and whatnot, but we're hearing, and I have some reports up here, whether it's 247 or Inside Texas, just talking about some of the guys. I think right now the consensus at the edge position is obviously you have a returning starter in Baron Sorrell, who is probably your best natural pass rusher off the edge and already proven to a degree. We're looking for him to go from good to great. And then you have Ethan Burke on the other side, who looks to be kind of taking those snaps. You have a Justice Finkley, rotating in there, the Jamon Taps, the Akanas, whatever they experiment to do with the Anthony Hill, TBD there. I think that's kind of their secret weapon with all of this, of however they deploy him. But there's questions there, right? Can a Colton Vasek come along and try to spark early? I think that's the part of the defense that's like kind of, where a lot of fans that replied to me and said, hey, how are you so confident about the Big 12 when arguably the most important position in PK's scheme is those edges? And we really, really don't know right there. Where do y'all fall in terms of that group before we sign off here?
I'll say it real quick, Quinn. I'll be through with it. That book, oh, buddy, going to LSU. I hope it can't get no worse. Ovi gave us some nice plays, but man, anyway, he left a lot to be desired on the football field. So
Ovi was an upgrade over the 2021 guys, at least.
Yeah, he was the 2021 guy.
Oh yeah, Ben Davis.
But I mean, who I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
Crazy Ray.
Ray.
Yeah. So, but no, real talk though. Ethan Burke, and I picked him early in the year. He put on some good weight. Some guys say he looks slim, but man, they got him listed at 250. So I don't know. So you know what I'm saying? He is tall. He is 6'7". He got the long arms. It's a reason Michigan wanted this guy. Michigan picked, they got a good eye for talent on the defensive line. We already know Baron Sorrell. Man, Baron Sorrell putting on that weight, and his dad's always on it. Shout out to his dad. Hey, I think Baron Sorrell, if y'all go back and look at the film, and I'm telling you, Steve, I went back. Sorrell probably missed about 5 sacks last year. I'm talking about when he had the quarterback in his arms and the quarterback got away.
Or the quarterback got away.
If he finished this year, we're looking at a 10-sack guy. And I think that like you said, with the true freshman coming in, the help come off the edge too, man. I think we throw enough players at that problem. I think we're going to be solid there. But it is a key position, and like I said, long as we can get the pressure and get the quarterback down, I think the secondary is going to handle their business. And hey man, we should be good. And PK, he dialed up some pretty good blitzes last year. He doesn't usually like the blitz, but last year PK blitzed and it was pretty good. And when he did, he dialed it up. And he can get that from you guys. Is from I heard Steve, Dan Quinn. I hate talking about the Cowboys on here, but you're a Cowboys fan. But he learned a little bit from Dan Quinn. Matter of fact, Dan Quinn might be Washington's coach next year after he. But anyway,
be enemy,
other
but
than
okay.
That, that's it. Yeah. But no, man, no. I think we'll be straight at the edge, though.
So, real quick before Chris jumps in.
Yeah.
Bashan, I hear you, brother. I appreciate your optimism. I really do. What I did not hear from you, though, was them against the run, because you focus more on the pass, which is really what what they get paid to do, right? Is to go after the quarterback.
Yeah.
Here's where I'm at. Is that week 2 game against Alabama, they're not running the same offense they ran last year. They're going to try to run the football, and they're going to try to be very, very physical and violent. And I have some concerns, not with the interior. I think my guys on the interior are ready for violence and to fight back. I want to see if these guys can set the edge. Chris, where do you fall on this? Is my concern valid, or are you know, we straight there?
Oh, it's 100% valid, man. Also, I'm not knocking on wood, but man, if any of those guys get hurt on the edge, that's what I'm scared of too. I have like Longhorn memories of like us bringing in young pass rushers and them doing well occasionally, but them getting like outmanned. I remember Brian Pickerel from Oklahoma, that undersized defensive end we had. It was like 205 pounds that just could not put the weight on. I remember Jermaine Anderson back in the day trying to throw him in as a freshman, and it's just like those guys just weren't quite ready. And I mean, heck, Mac might have stunted their growth, you know. I think starting we're fine. Yeah, I'm worried about the run with Ethan Burke. I think if you had Burke and Finley together as a player, if you put their skills together, you'd have an all conference defensive end or Buck. But yeah, I think we're good in the beginning, but like as the starters, but that's the one position where I'm worried about depth. You know, that's big time. Like I mean, if Sorrells go down, I mean that ooh, I don't even want to think about it, you know. But we'll see, man. We have some guys that have been in. We've had some guys that have been on campus for a while, and a lot of guys don't do. They're not great practice players, but you put them in the game, and you're just like, whoa, you know. We've seen that. If there's put in a situation, you know, hopefully, you know, Mr. Tapp can step it up, man. That dude's been on campus for a couple of years now. You know, I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's just like I said. I mean, I'm not trying to. I mean, I want Christopher Ross and him and you know the freshmen to get a chance to kind of get seasoned and put weight on, but you know maybe get thrown in on you know situations maybe occasionally. I'm not trying to have those guys, you know, play you know 500-600 snaps this year. So
I feel like with guys like that, this is kind of the maker. It's not we need you to be all the way developed right now. Like some guys, that's the case. Like Alfred Collins, there's no more time, right? Like it's either you got it or you don't. I don't think we're there yet with people like Tapp or Ross. However, my thing is, at some point you get moved into a different category with the roster management of like now it's like, are you going to transfer next year? Like, what are you doing? Like, you're not. It's just not hitting. Like you're not even in the road. I need Tapp to get into the rotation. Like to me, that's a win for him. If I see him out, if I see him rotating in there, I'm like, oh, okay, he's playing. Oh, okay, he's getting better. Okay, he's starting to compete for more snaps. Then that's a win to me. I'm not saying he's got to go out there and win the job or anything like that, but I got to see you, brother. I mean, and then or else you fall behind. Then we have the what if conversations. Any final thoughts, Bashan, Chris, before we sign off?
Man, just looking forward to the pads. Pop on, start hearing those reports on the pads, man. Can't wait. And just hoping and praying to stay that we stay healthy, brother. That's another key, I think, man. And other than that, man, I think it's going to be a real good season, man. Looking forward to
it. Indeed,
man,
Chris.
For me, it's health. But one thing that I want to see how the wide receiver rotation. I heard the other day that Sark was talking about possibly, you know, playing more players, you know, and if we're going to be losing so many receivers to the draft, supposedly after this year or the graduation, man, like we need, and if you're going to need to get at least 5-6 guys to bring him in new, you need to. Casey Kane he needs to get on the field. You know, Jonte needs to get on the field. You know, DeAndre Moore, we need to see like, you know, we got Tariq Milton. He's supposed to be a safety blanket for Whittington, but Whittington never got hurt. So great. But same time, though, we didn't hardly ever see Milton last year. He needs to trust these younger guys. Hopefully the room's talented enough to where you can bring a DeAndre Moore and you can bring a Jonte Cook in and it doesn't fall off. But like I said, I want to see more rotation, maybe a quicker pace on offense, more plays, to get these receivers on the field.
I think that sense of urgency goes hand in hand with the quarterback play.
Yep.
For me, Quinn Ewers, especially, stay the course. That's the investment we've made by making you QB1 coming out of the spring and him taking ownership of this football team over the summer. So stay the course. The same energy that I've heard about is the same thing I want to hear when we get to our first scrimmage, right? Just continues to be sharp, continues to push the team. And when people say, "Oh, okay, who are Texas's guys?" Oh yeah, Quinn Ewers is one of their best players. That's what I want to hear, and that's when I'll feel even more confident about the pressure, this team rising and playing to the pressure and to the expectations that we all have for them. But we all know they can reach. Stay tuned on GP. I think we've all said that, and
Yeah.
what happens there, and we will be back after we hear from Mr. Colin Simmons in that battle with LSU. Right now, we're in a dogfight with LSU for also Bashan's war daddy, Dom McKinley, got a crystal ball to Texas today. So shout out to Bo Davis putting in work there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, OU's right there.
Keep shutting my mouth, Bo. Just keep on shutting my mouth up. I love it.
Y'all, thanks so much for coming on the Unfiltered Longhorn Talk group, man. You guys are the best. Chris, Bashan, I appreciate it. Y'all, horns always up. Hit that like button, subscribe. Welcome.
Welcome.